and welcome back to Justin Talks Villa. Like, subscribe and comment in the section below. I am really pleased today to be joined by, I'm going to call him a celebrity chef.
Oh, no.
I don't know whether you like being called a celebrity chef, but I think you are a celebrity chef. You've been on telly, you've won awards, so I think that's fair. And you're Michelin starred as well.
True, that is
Surely
true.
That's celebrity chef.
I think so. It's just always a stranger. I mean, you hear it yourself. Do you know what I mean? I don't class myself as a celebrity.
No, I get that. So I'm going to call him that anyway.
Thank you,
and more importantly, a massive Villa fan. He did message me yesterday, do you want me to wear a Villa top? I said, yes, definitely wear a Villa top, so that's great. And I've got to be honest, you are my dream guest.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Do you know why you're my dream guest?
Food
and Villa.
They get perfect. That's what I mean.
It's like the perfect combination for me. Yeah.
Mate,
the best two things, food and Villa. So we're going to talk about Villa, obviously. We're going to talk about your career. And we're also going to talk about your work at the Villa. Because you work at the corporate side of Villa, don't you, as
Absolutely,
well? So we're going to touch on that. But as always with these interviews, we're going to start with Villa.
Perfect.
So, Villa fan? All of your life?
All my life. I had no choice, really.
This is what I'm going to ask. How did that start? Family thing, was it?
It's a funny story. So my mum and dad actually separated when I was very young, when I was 3. So I was predominantly my mum, to be fair, especially in the early years. And I remember I had a best friend. So I was born and raised in Sutton Coldfield. And I went to Hill West Primary School off the Clarence Road in Four Oaks. And my best friend there was a young lad called Liam Kelly. And he had and you're going to think I'm talking about something else now, but he had the away green United top. It was green and yellow.
Yes, I remember that one, yeah.
The green and yellow, and I absolutely loved it. And I came home to my dad one day, and I said, I must have been about 5 or 6, like really young. And I turned around to him and I said, Dad, I think he said, what do you want for your birthday? And I said, I'd love the green and yellow United top. And he was like...
Was he a Villa fan?
Yeah, massive. Yeah, okay. And he said...
he kicked you out immediately.
Well, he just said, oh, what do you want one of them for? I said, I love it, and United were the best, obviously. It's like 94, 95. So he said, you don't want to support them, mate. He said, I'll get you a top. And then the following season, 95, 96 season, he got me, him and my mum put together and got me a full kit, claret and blue AST computers, Reebok. And I wore it to absolute death. And I think it was more of a case I just wanted a kit. I think the first kit that I saw and was synonymous with was this United kit. And the moment I unwrapped this, I remember this. It sounds ridiculous. I remember the smell. I remember how thick the socks were.
Sounds amazing.
I just remember everything, mate. And I wore it. I was a proper full kit wanker for everywhere we went. It wasn't just the Villa. It was like everywhere we went.
How old was you then? 24, 25?
I would have been. Yeah, so it would have been 95. So I would have been 7. Yeah, 6 or 7. It would have been my 7th birthday. That's when I would have got them. And I just remember wearing it for every weekend. I'd wear it. My dad, back in the day, my dad used to pick me up from school on a Wednesday. We used to go to King's Standing Baths, and after or before King's Standing Baths, we used to then just drive past the Villa. And one day, the sort of the gate, I don't think it's there anymore. It was a big wooden gate just on the side of Doug Ellis to the Holt. And it used to be open. I think that's how people used to, the lawnmowers and stuff.
Into the ground.
You should drive into the ground. You don't remember it. And one day, me and my dad, obviously you could do it back then. This is 1995, 96. And my dad just parked up on the side, and we walked in, and the groundskeeper was in there. And he was like, hello, mate. Really, really polite. You wouldn't get that now, but get the fuck out. He was like, hello, lads, you all right? And I had my full kit on, obviously. And he said, he just wanted to show my son. We haven't been to the Villa yet. I just wanted to show my son, like, the ground. And he was like, well, I'll give you a little tour. And mate, it was just a little lap of the ground. Then we went up into a couple of stands, and he took a picture of us. I still got the picture now. And I just couldn't believe it. I'd never seen a full-size picture in my life. And then obviously that season was arguably, even now, which I remember that's the only sad part, I think arguably it's probably the best season I've been a supporter. It was obviously, I've seen Brian Little down there.
Winning the trophy.
The Coca-Cola Cup, and I always remember him doing this on the sidelines. I watched that around my granddad's house with Dad. And I just couldn't believe it. Milosevic and Yorkie and Tails, obviously. And that was I was hooked from that time moving forward. And
do you remember your first game then when you went?
Yeah, I do. So it was actually the season after that. It would have been the 97 season and the 96, 97 season, and we were actually against Bolton. And I remember we lost 2-1. It was my first game. I couldn't get out of my head was the atmosphere, mate. It was absolutely unbelievable. I was sitting in the Doug Ellis stand, and the atmosphere was absolutely like electric. I mean, even though we lost, I still remember Dad bringing me away. I'm so sorry, son. We've lost it.
First game, yeah.
And I was like, mate, it doesn't matter. I said the atmosphere. I enjoy it. It's a bit weird. I was more fascinated looking around at the atmosphere.
I think when you're that age and you walk up the steps for the first time, it's such a huge expanse, and you look and you think, "Oh my God, what's this here? What are we doing here?"
I remember like
the cheering and the singing starts.
Absolutely, I remember the crest at the top of the. It would have been Trinity. I don't know if it was still called the Trinity then, but the Trinity with the flags. There used to be flags there. Yeah, I just remember I just remember that and the atmosphere, and then we went to. To be fair, I wasn't a season ticket holder properly until 16. So from probably 7 or 8 to 16, me and my dad used to sporadically just go to games when we could, really.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad was busy with business, I'd imagine, and Mum didn't have an overriding interest in the villa. We had a football. My mum used to take me to all the football games, as in me playing. But from a supporter's perspective, I didn't get a season ticket until I was 16. Yeah, so that's it, really.
And once you've got the book, that's it for life.
Oh, it's just mad. I think it is, and I think it's.
You can't explain it to non-football fans.
You can't explain it to non-football fans, but also it's like mate, my whole entire life from that age. Especially when they, from probably 12, 13, 14, obviously mobile phones come into it and the internet comes into it and all the shows on TV start coming into it.
Daft YouTubers start.
Then now it's daft YouTubers. No, but it's everything. It's a social aspect now. But it has been for a few years. But everything. I used to watch teletext when I was a kid. I used to watch teletext and watch the Villa scores coming through, and that's where I used to cheer watching. If York used to come up and score, Milosevic or Towers, whatever. And Draper was one of my favourites when I was a kid. I thought it was just cool. I thought it was a proper cool cat. But no, it's mad. And we actually used to live in Four Oaks. We used to live by the Crown pub.
Oh no!
Up on the top of the hill. And when we lived there, it used to be a mad pub. Actually, used to have a load of little eateries in there. Used to have like a Chinese takeaway, Indian takeaway, Mexican. And me and my old man used to go on a Sunday night, and he used to have a pint. Sometimes watch the F1 in there. I remember that. And he would, but sometimes there would be like a little table in the corner, and it would be Townsend, Southgate, and sometimes Draper, sometimes Gary Charles. There was just a collection of players sitting there having a beer, mate. Yeah, and we used to go over and used to get. So
Sutton's a hot spot for players.
Big time, mate. Yeah. But I must have had like an A4 piece of paper. I'd ask for behind the bar
to get more to sign.
And mate, every time I go, I'd be like, Andy, always Andy. And he turned around once and he was like, "Is it Tom?" I said, "Yeah, it's Tom." He said, "I must have signed about 6 or 7.
Selling these?
I was like,
pre-eBay days.
But literally, I used to sit and I used to have them in a book. And Andy Townsend, he had quite a specific, it seems really big and round.
And to furk them out and put them on eBay, you get a fortune.
I probably have still got them. But I used to think as a captain, he used to be quite sort of very refined sort of personality.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And I used to really I used to look at him and think he's like this sort of upper.
But isn't it funny how things have changed? You're saying that's made me think, I was like that. I used to stand outside the gates at Villa. And wait. Well, in those days, the car park was open, so where the north...
So you could just drive in?
So players used to just park and then walk to get in. So we used to get there early, and then the players would drive in, and everyone would just go around the cars and they get autographs. But nowadays, nobody really gets autographs.
No, it's a shame.
Selfies, isn't it?
Yeah,
can I have a selfie? Can I have a selfie?
Yeah.
Nowadays, because everyone's got phones, days it was selfies.
That was the only thing you could get. Yeah, no, it's true. That is actually. Yeah.
So we'll move on to your work side of it now, because that's the other reason we're here.
Definitely.
Chef.
Yeah.
I love food, as you can tell. How did you get into it? Because your dad's... has he always been in the jewellery trade? We'll come on to the shop and...
Yeah, it's cool. So I'll briefly say, he's third generation jeweller. So his dad, my granddad, and his granddad, so my great granddad, my great granddad founded essentially the jewellers. It was a Shepherd and Sons, I think it was called. Okay. And it was in central Birmingham.
Yeah. Was it in the jewellery quarter?
Yeah, they actually started in Hockley Heath, all around there. That's where they all started. And then they ventured into sort of the jewellery quarter. My granddad was actually born in the jewellery quarter, and it's the colleges now. So his dad and his mum had a flat in there, an apartment. He was actually born in one of those apartments, which is just mad. So very much born into it. And my granddad grew the business there. Yeah. And then my dad sort of went into it. I think my dad was very similar to me, just didn't really get on with school too well, didn't have the right people around, and it was a bit before, obviously way before his time then. I think he just didn't have the right teachers, I think. He enjoyed school, didn't get out of school what he wanted to, same with me. My granddad was a bit more black and white, a bit more old school, and he was like, you either get a job or you sort of get out of the house, really, I think. So my dad said, I think, yeah, well, it's going to go into the family business. And my granddad was bang against it. He was like, I've worked hard for this. You ain't, being a school dropout.
So 3 generations of jewellers.
2 generations of jewellers. And then come on
chef.
to me. And then, so I basically, this is mad. This is again, we'll come into the situation here. But I tried it. I was a Saturday lad at the old place just over the road when I was 14. I just couldn't get into retail, mate. I couldn't get the whole standing around, waiting for customers. I was obviously predominantly the last person to serve because there was obviously a lot more educated people than I was. And I just didn't get it. It was like loads of cups of tea breaks and just then you go on your lunch break every half an hour, whatever it is. I just found it really boring. Mm-hmm. And one thing I always got from school and my personality as a young lad was I was very energised, but I had a real burning determination to succeed. Mm-hmm. I wanted to really make something of my career and be someone, I think, because that was the avenue where I felt actually that's going to get the best out of me if I really focus on something. And I went to be sort of a pot washer and like bottle washer at the George Hotel, which is the hotel just behind us. And ironically, the Villa link is quite synonymous with especially the early, and I'm not saying this because of the podcast at all, but I had an amazing general manager who was a huge Villa fan called Mark Santi. He's had a Villa season for 20, 30 years, home and away. And he just lives and breathes the Villa. And he was my general manager there. And so we just clicked instantly. And he really liked my personality. And he says, "Tell me, no, come on full time. Just come on full time. You don't know what you're doing with your job. You're not enjoying
because of the work ethic.
Because of the work ethic, I just got down to it. But it was busy. I was always busy.
You like that environment,
big time. And I like the culture. I like the camaraderie. Joking.
So it's weird, isn't it, from going from like standing in the shop
to going
into basically pot washing, but seeing that environment of work.
Absolutely busy, the buzz of service, etc. Had absolutely no sort of feeling about chefing at that stage. Either. And then a couple of years in, about 18 months into it, obviously during that period I was part-time for quite a lot of that, to be fair, still doing school obviously. And then I went full-time for about 6 to 8 months. There was a lady there called Lorraine who was a receptionist, and she did a little bit of work, because I think her mum and dad owned it, but she did a little bit of work at Newhall Hotel in Sutton.
Yes. And
she said, listen, like, there's a hotel in Warmley, Sutton Coldfield, called Newhall. I do a bit of work there, HR work there. Like, I've spoke to the guys there. They've got this trainee manager's course. It's a bigger hotel, bigger venue, and I think you'd really suit it. So I went over to that hotel. First 3 months of this training management course, the course was essentially spending 3 months in each department. And they were like, listen, the bar, can't put you on pot wash because it's not really a department, but you know the bar. So we're going to put you on 3 months on the bar just to get you settled into the place and get you to understand the people. Next 3 months, we're going to get you in the kitchen. He says, you know what, I've got this really weird feeling. He says, I was a chef when I first started, and I went into the management side and I really enjoyed it. I've just got a really weird feeling that your personality really suits the kitchen. So I was like, I'm not into food, mate, at all, And he was like, let's wait and see. So 3 months, do the bar, loved it. Then you start getting connections with the guys. The head chef was a massive Villa fan, Wayne Thompson, sadly passed away very recently, unfortunately. But he was massive Villa fan. And so I got on with him, House is on Fire. Newhall with O'Neill became the Villa Hotel. Mm-hmm. So every single home game, the Villa stayed in the hotel. So I was getting to see Gabby and Ashley and Olaf Melberg and Larson and McCann and all these incredible players, and Gerlin. So first 3 months in the kitchen, obviously I started looking after the banqueting side of things because it was probably the easiest and less pressurised. Every single job that Wayne gave me, I applied myself to the maximum. So even if it was washing salad leaves or prepping asparagus or prepping mushrooms or whatever, everyone needed to do something, I did it. But then all of a sudden, when I started cooking and understanding service, I had this wild transition into this natural ability, or the understanding of this natural ability that I had, which I didn't know I did have, because I had no interest in food, and the natural ability to cook and to taste, to understand seasoning levels. You been to college? I was like, no, mate. How do you get it? I was like, I don't know. And then, well, it wasn't even 3 months. It was like 6, 7 weeks. And Wayne was like, mate, you have to consider this as your career. Like, you have to. Like, you can't. I haven't seen many chefs come out of college with your skill set. I was very fortunate with my mum. And it was probably from affordability. We always lived in very small two-up, two-down houses. But my mum would food was one thing with my mum. It's health more so.
Yeah.
My mum would never. I was never introduced to takeaways.
No,
I was
all
never
freshly cooked home stuff. Yeah.
Always proper meals. Just
Probably maybe subconsciously, just
I think it was. I think it was, mate. And also, like my mum. Obviously, it was me and my mum. So if my mum was leaving work early, or for instance away for the weekend or whatever, and I was obviously in sort of teens, because you could sort of do that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I used to call up and say, oh, can I do a cook a bacon sandwich? And my mum was just like, well, you just get a frying pan on and cook it until it's
out of necessity, really.
Is it, mate?
Yeah.
So it started coming from that, and it was like then I started getting a bit more flamboyant with it. So like instead of just having a bacon sandwich, I'd have a bacon and avocado sandwich, or put a bit of mayonnaise in there. That's what I mean. And start frying an egg and stuff, and like. I used to I used to enjoy it, but I never used to look at it as in like enjoyment from a career.
You never equated that to actually having to work in that industry.
I just enjoyed cooking for myself. I enjoyed being an individual.
It was only the spark of working in that kitchen environment.
And it was the buzz,
the work ethic, the buzz of it.
And equally, bearing in mind, it was the first time in my life that I was doing something that I actually felt I was good at, but also I belonged.
And people are saying, you know what, you're good at this.
Mate, 100%.
And that helps hugely.
Well, but no, I've worked 16 years of pure sacrifice in my career, complete sacrifice. Of like the ladder, of just trying to get that ladder step by step by step to this place where I've got my own business, got my own team, absolutely incredible. Now I've got my own Michelin star. It's the second part of my career now. It's completely a different book, not a different chapter, a different book, mate. It's a new book. I'm still in the early stages.
Things that have opened up now.
Absolutely.
But you've still got to keep your eye on what got you today, don't you?
I still have to have this.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me is like, you know what? I enjoy all that outside stuff. It's just, I leave upstairs now.
Yeah, you can't switch
mate,
off,
because
can you?
without this, you haven't got those things.
Yeah.
And they would be the first people to say, well, I love Tom Shepherd, and that's what we invest in, that's what we want. But the old Tom, like, it comes from upstairs.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from just me, just going, I am good, believe me. It's like, this is, and they have to do that.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a team now. So that's where it comes in. It's really difficult. But listen, you get out what you put in life.
100%.
And would I swap anything? No, absolutely not. Like I said, it's a new book for me, new story for me. I'm enjoying every single second of it, and I'm a very determined, very.
I've only known you about an hour, and I can tell that.
Driven. Well, so I mean, I'm just driven. I just want to succeed, and success.
I feel like I want to go and put one of them overalls on and go in the kitchen and start cutting things up.
Come in. But easy success, I think, is what you personally, whatever you determine is success. And I think for me, it's not money doesn't drive me success.
No,
I think getting the most out of life is success. And I want to meet meeting you today and talking about this, and it's meeting people, it's meeting your idols, it's being on the level, it's being respected by others. That's what I believe. Not mean to say it's necessarily success.
No,
that's what I would like to get out of my life. I would love to walk in a room and people just to respect me, not know me.
No.
Not know me, just respect me and just
he's
go.
Good at what he does.
Someone turns around and goes, mate, he's achieved a lot in his life. Yeah, he needs to be respected.
So we'll whack through. Really, you went to Restaurant St Baines.
St Baines, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, what's that? Yeah.
Michelle Wignall at the Latimer.
Yeah.
And then Adams in Birmingham.
That's it.
So you basically worked at all those three.
Yeah.
How important is it to go and work at those places and learn from those people? Obviously, was the end goal always to have your own place?
Yeah. But for me, in my early career, two factors. You have to have a goal in life. You can't just, in this career, you can't just bounce from chef to kitchen and go, well, I might want my own restaurant one day. I might want to be I don't know. Don't do it. Don't do it. Pointless. Just focus, because the kitchen where you go into deserves someone who has drive, who has ambition, who has a goal, who has a journey, who has a route, has a path. They deserve that. So for me, I would always say do that, because it's so much to sacrifice. Make sure you have an end goal, because the moment I sat on that computer on February the 8th, 2022, and the head of Michelin turned around to me and said, I'm awarding you a Michelin star, the validation of the past 17 years all came true. And I cried. I absolutely broken because of the stuff I've sacrificed, mate. Between me and you, Justin, I regret some sacrifices. And they're sort of not haunting me, but it's a regret. But the validation that those 10 minutes of that all became real, and that's a feeling that I haven't really had. The only feeling that's topped that is the birth of my child. That's actually it. I can honestly say that to you. And
but I totally resonate with what you're saying, and I think it's so important to have those goals. And even if you think when you set them that they're unachievable, there's nothing wrong with setting massive goals.
You have to.
Absolutely. I mean,
Because the more you go through your life, the more achievable they become.
And there's nothing stopping anybody trying anything. I mean, I'm nearly 50 now, and I wish there was these opportunities to do this years ago. And I put off doing this for a long time because I just thought, I'm too old, nobody wants to listen to me, blah, 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 blah. And then eventually I got up the courage. I thought, just do it, because who knows what can happen.
Absolutely.
And if you fail, you fail, but you've tried, haven't you?
You've tried and you've learned a lot in the process.
And that's exactly, and what you're saying, you set that goal, which you think, maybe, is it unachievable? Who knows? But let's have a go and try and get there.
That's exactly what it was, man. I was sat at home with my mum, 17, just started this training manager's course, watched, I think it was the second or third series of Great British Menu, and a young Glenn Pennell was on there.
Yes.
And my mum said to us, Tom, he's got a Michelin star restaurant in Birmingham, we need to go one day. And I was like, bloody hell. I hadn't even eaten a Michelin star restaurant. I didn't even really know what Michelin was. But I remember looking at this young lad. He was a bit, he was happy-go-lucky, comedian, funny character. And he won the dessert of his little famous egg, the creme brulee in the egg cup. And he won the dessert for that series, and he had a Michelin star. And my mum said, do you reckon you could ever get to that stage? Just started my career, just started my unknown career at that stage, but I was a chef. And I said, one day, do you reckon am I a Michelin star? Jesus Christ, who knows? And it was from that day forward, I was like, well, I've got to have a goal. I've got to set a goal. And I remember watching Gordon Ramsay, and Gordon Ramsay had the biggest impact on my career at that stage from a TV perspective. When I used to watch him, I'd never seen drive, passion, focus, desire. I've never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it, man.
Have you ever worked under him? Have you ever?
Never worked. I've been in the restaurant. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him yet. Hopefully I will one day. But I've had the pleasure of knowing his head chef Matt Abay very well. He's a friend of mine now, which is amazing. And they've just bought Le Gavroche, which is incredible. That's another journey in itself. And when you revert back to working with Saturn at the Latimer in Surrey, I had no reason to move anywhere near Nottingham, anywhere near Surrey. I had no reason to do that. I wanted to work for those people, and I am very lucky and fortunate that I've worked for the people I wanted to, because I knew they would add huge amounts of value to me and my career, and they have. And there were two Michelin star restaurants, so essentially the same accolade, but two very different outlooks on food, very different products, but still at an incredible level.
So at the level you was at, and when you went to those different places, was it in your mind to say, I want to go and experience those kitchens, but I also want to almost hone my USP?
We're fine. Yeah, absolutely.
So where I want to be, what I want to produce. And it's great going and working for these people, but ultimately you're working for what they want.
Absolutely.
And the dish they want to put out in front of you.
And you learn
it's really important for you to be at that point where you can say, right, when I'm ready for opening mine, this is what I want to be putting in front of customers.
You'll see 10 different things, 10 different ways how to do something.
Yeah.
You then move forward, and you may choose one of those, or you may have an accumulation of them. You don't know, but it's important. And I think that the reason a lot of people have asked me, why didn't you go for a 3-star? Well, when I went back in 2013, I was 2013 when I first went to my first 2-star at the Latimer. There wasn't many 3-star restaurants in London. I think there would have been the Waterside Inn, the Fat Duck. I think the Dorchester had 3 stars, and Ramsay's. I would have loved to have gone to Ramsay's, but Ramsay's didn't have a great reputation then. It was quite. I had a friend who was there.
Heston Blumenthal.
Heston Blumenthal, which was food that I didn't want to learn. That was food I didn't want to learn. Very modernistic cuisine. Yes. Yeah, it's very different. I didn't want to learn that. The other two, i.e. Waterside and the Dorchester, was so old school. They didn't do anything for me. I didn't look at it and go, I really want to learn that. When I looked at Sat's food and equally Michael's food, I was like, fuck, some of the ingredients they were using were some of the best ingredients on the planet. And I was like, they're the kitchens I want to be in. So I essentially sacrificed I don't like saying I could have got a job at a 3-star, but I sacrificed the possibility of going to a 3-star because I knew it would aid me more learning in a kitchen I wanted to learn in, and also work for a chef I wanted to work with. I didn't just go chase the stars to work in the 3-star because it had 3 stars. I worked in restaurants where I wanted to work, and I think Sat was probably the biggest influence on my career because it was the first independent, which I alluded to earlier when we were talking about holidays. First independent, but also it was just him. It was just Sat Baines. You know, so Michael at the Latimer was a room within a massive hotel, 5-star, Penny Hill Park. It's amazing. The restaurant Sat Baines was just Sat Baines and his wife in this old stable plot in off Lenton Lane in Nottingham, where he made that a destination.
Like what you've done here.
Like what we've done here, and so when I went to Adams, and Adams is essentially a standalone restaurant, obviously funded in a different way, and it's a husband and wife team very much, but it's in the middle of a city, and quite a busy city. Big restaurant, massive kitchen, no money spared. Very different to how Sat started. He grew, and I knew that I would have to grow because I knew I didn't have the family. I mean, Adam's wife. Father is an extremely wealthy man, and I think he's put an awful lot of that into it.
Yeah.
I've never had that.
No.
Never had that. And equally, I knew I wouldn't. So that sort of natural and very, for me, it was an organic growth with Sat, and for me, it really encouraged me. I actually really enjoyed that because it gives you the time to move in your own pace. So when I opened upstairs, I had the opportunity to open upstairs. I knew that it was going to be very much of a starting block where like every penny's pinched, mate.
I was coming on to that now. So at that point, 2021, your dad had got the shop underneath. So this was a workshop.
So this was a abandoned workshop. So the room we're sitting in now, it was actually 3 rooms.
Right.
So these sort of 2 divides you can see there, they separated the rooms, and mate, it was pokey and stunk, absolutely chemically and everything. Everything had just been laid, almost like. And I walked upstairs. And my dad, and it was all about Dad. It was all about Dad and downstairs. Nothing about upstairs. Certainly nothing about me. I says, Dad, what's upstairs? Front door weathered shut, like all the wood had expanded and it had broken. He couldn't even open it. The key had gone amiss, etc. So there's like a staircase behind us here, where like we could sort of go through the back and come upstairs. As soon as I opened the door, it's must and the smell was just horrible. And I looked round. I says, what are you thinking of doing up here? And he was like, I was telling me, I've stretched every fucking money pot I could ever stretch. I've had to put my own money into it. My nan put her money into it. My granddad had passed it then, but my nan had put the money into it. He was like, fucking scares the living shit out of me, to be honest. He did.
Yeah.
I looked around it. I just saw these windows. And I was like,
be a nice restaurant, this would.
Can we do something? He was like, Tom, I can't. I said, okay, can I do something? He was like, what are you thinking? I was like, I just think it'd be a nice restaurant. And he was like, what? I said, honestly, I think it could be a nice restaurant. But that was how the restaurant opened. And what was the most incredible thing is that Michelin obviously came in those first 3 months.
So they came almost immediately?
Immediately, mate.
Do you have to ask them to go? I'm going on to the Michelin thing.
No, you don't ask them.
They just go somewhere?
It's weird, mate, because I don't understand it as much as some people.
Didn't they get recommended then? They must know of you.
They knew of me.
Yes.
They followed the restaurant on social media. Okay. Social media was a big thing. They also interviewed me. So before COVID, my understanding is they used to ask for the chef every year. They'd have to, every single Michelin star restaurant has to be inspected. On top of that, they obviously like to inspect restaurants that they feel, or they may have been told, or whatever, or the chef maybe, whatever. So when I was interviewed, they were lovely. They were absolutely lovely. I remember my first interview at Adams, mate. Shat myself. I didn't even know they were in, obviously. And then the next morning, the doorbell went. Obviously, the restaurant was upstairs at Adams. So I ran upstairs and I opened the door. I said, hi, mate, we're not open till 12. And he went, no, is it Tom? I said, yeah. And he went, Jeremy something. He said, from the Michelin Guide. I went, oh, fuck. I said, oh, yeah. I said, we don't open till... He goes, I've had my lunch already. It was yesterday. Can I come in for a chat? I went, oh, my God.
So you had no idea they were
No idea. So we just sat upstairs, like we're doing now. Like, restaurant was coming out, no staff. Sat upstairs and started asking me. He went, Tom, you can ask me anything. Anything you want, you can ask me. And he said, and I'm looking forward to having a conversation. I said, well, how was yesterday? And he went, I thoroughly enjoyed my experience. I was like, oh,
thank
fucking
God
hell.
for that.
I said, was there any dishes that you didn't enjoy? I thoroughly enjoyed my experience. Yeah. Any dishes that can improve, Jeremy? I thoroughly enjoyed my experience. I said, cool, okay, I know where this is going then. But their interpretation, mate, you need to cook for you. Like, don't cook, or cook for your customers, don't cook for me. So I said, okay. So he said, honestly, Tom, I said, I loved it. Guess who turned up 2 weeks of opening?
The same guy?
Same guy.
So he'd have his eye on you.
So I was stood here.
You recognised him straight away?
Stood here, mate, he had a mask on. His eyes looked over at me like that, and I went, I turned around.
Before we did?
Yeah. The table was completely organically put in the corner. So the two people, he was on table 2 weirdly. It was a man, normal name, I can't remember the name, normal, it wouldn't have been his name, it wouldn't have been Jeremy, but it would have been normal name, like, Joe Clark, say. Sat in the corner, and he asked, because he clocked eyes, and he knew I must have gone like that, didn't realise at the time, but he asked this member of staff to sit at one of these tables, so his back was to me. He never got out of his chair the whole entire service. The inspector who was with, I didn't recognise, just kept on peeking over. I always say, flavour is paramount, seasonality is paramount, and sourcing of your ingredients. Those are still the only 3 factors that we live by now.
Yes.
But the level of what we can apply ourselves in those 3 categories have grown massively, has matured massively. 2 weeks, I didn't have a clue what we were doing. But the food was the last thing I was worried about. The food was fantastic. But it was very light. We had pollock on the menu, best pollock we could get, cooked perfectly, using a beautiful seasonal sauce, seasonal garnish, done. We had a pork belly dish on for starters. They had one of everything, but we did what we could do. And then we just had, for the run until Christmas, we just had some individual guests, didn't know. And then we got to like New Year, and we were like, we've been quite aggressively sort of inspected, I think. I don't know, but I think it feels like we have. So I wouldn't be surprised, if we maybe got something in the New Year, maybe a bib gourmand, so which is below a star.
Yeah.
But then obviously I got this phone call, and.
We'll go on to the media bits. You've alluded to it already. It's a great British menu, and you cooked. I watched it last night.
Yeah.
As somebody that absolutely loved cartoons and the pie.
Yeah.
I am coming here at some point.
Yeah.
I've booked in, and I want you to make me the Desperate Dan pie.
Everyone else
it
does
looks
as well.
amazing.
It's that is so. Let's go back to Glyn.
Yeah.
So mate, 2022, best year of my life. So February 2022, we get a Michelin star. First one, first mine, my dream, everything. The back end of 2022, I get asked to go onto the Great British Menu and present the Central Region. The briefs celebrating illustration animation. So like, for me, it was just, I couldn't have, the stars were aligning, like the brief was just sensational. I went on there and I created all 4 dishes I massively believed in. Also, the veteran who walked through the door was Paul Ainsworth, and I respect him. I actually set this whole business up almost imitating what Paul's done down in Padstow.
So it couldn't have been a better person.
We want the rooms, we want this. I also would love a relaxed dining experience in Lichfield. I want to take over Lichfield, that's my ambition. That was my ambition at the start. And when he walked through the door, I just felt that like he'll get me, he'll get the food, and my God, he got the food. And so the best pie I'd ever tasted, and banana dessert blew him out the water. But the banana was one that I knew we could, if that was positively received, I knew we could transition that into here, and we have. And people come to the restaurant for that dish, and it's on the menu. And
I'm pretty sure my wife will be having that.
Yeah,
if it's still on.
Right.
If it's still on. So we're going back to Villa now, and you have worked at Wembley in their
Wembley, I've got
corporate.
an amazing relationship with Wembley.
Yeah. And now you work at Villa.
Yeah.
And obviously we've seen a total transformation in the corporate side of Villa over the last 12 months.
Incredible.
Last summer, basically, they ripped the whole lot out,
Yep.
restarted
Everything.
And it gets a lot of stick, corporate does at Villa, because of the money side of football. But I've always understood it as a hugely key part of revenue generating.
Massive.
At the club.
Massive.
And if you get that side of it right, and the people that can afford it, and I understand not everybody can afford it,
I get that.
and that's fine, but if you get that right, you are hugely impacting on the income of a football club.
Absolutely.
So what has been how did you get that gig? What's your opinion of how it's all done now, and where does it rate amongst what you've experienced in your career?
That's great questions all throughout that. I echo everything you've said in the remit of what they've done with Villa. Incredible, on and off the pitch, absolutely incredible. The space that they've created there, or the spaces that they've created there, is absolutely stunning. Listen, they've got a burning ambition. Villa's got a burning ambition to be one of the best, if not the best club in the country. And that doesn't just mean on the grass, mate. That means everything. As a supporter, I can't even remotely speak ill of any part of that corporate hospitality there. I'm fortunate enough to be in the 150 club. Bearing in mind, obviously, the actual corporate offering is, I don't know if it's even 10% of the capacity of Villa Park.
Yeah.
So their priorities are very much still in the general access, without a shadow of a doubt. But they also know that there is a massive burning need and desire of clientele to want a bigger experience, and that's where I come in. And where I come in is that when me and you went to the football with your dad and you park your car on the side of the road and you ask the local lad who's on his bike to look after it for a couple of quid, that doesn't exist anymore. Equally, getting a burger on the way in obviously still exists, but like people just want a bit more. And at the end of the day, don't get confused. The reason why people are there and going there is for the football.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we can elevate their experience and you rock up 2-3 hours before and you get complimentary drinks and a complimentary 3-course meal with, a pie in between and cheese and biscuits to finish, win, lose or draw, you've still got an amazing experience.
You've experienced the day, haven't you?
But
sorry, before you carry on,
no?
It's also you've sparked something in me. Outside the Trinity Road now, where we saw all these food places now, so even for the general admission fans like myself, even that's elevated now.
Absolutely.
You're seeing what do they call them, like a Digmouth Dining Club?
That's it.
Those elevated
vendors,
burger vendors, pulled pork, food trucks. So even that's elevated up. So it's natural that you have to elevate the corporate offering as well.
Because it is. It's there, mate, and that comes from demand, and it's great that Villa are trying to sort of push the boundaries of that and equally try to promote other areas of what Villa Park is. That's no cost to anyone else. You can choose to enjoy that, or you can choose to leave it, but it's still there. And the big band they put on, and the players bit where the players walk in now, the claret and blue bit, the tunnel. I think it's all amazing. It's all added. And I went to Man City, and Man City do it bloody well. But they've got investment that's huge. They've got the blue carpet, it's called.
Oh right.
It's in the red carpet, like a blue carpet, and the players go through this little tunnel and it's blue, and they smack each other's hands, and there's a guy on the commentary who's going, next coming out of the bus is Kevin De Bruyne, and Kevin comes out and he'll shake their hands and they go straight to the dressing room. It's amazing, but there's young kids there like crying because they can't believe Kevin De Bruyne's smacked their hand. That's what it's about. Do you know what I mean? We never got that when I was a kid. You never saw the players. I know you said you could go to the cars, but
not now.
Not now. No, so that's a lovely thing. But then, so the corporate side of it is, I've been fortunate enough to. I cook for the boardroom on Champions League nights. And
really?
They were saying that their budget for Champions League is obviously higher. Of course it is. Now it's Champions League football in Birmingham at Villa. Hasn't been there since the 80s.
Years,
do you know what I mean? So let's get it real. And they turned around to Sharon, who looks after the corporate side. She went, we want to flex our muscles, and we want a local Villa supporter who's got a Michelin star to come. And I cook for PSG, I cook for Bayern Munich, I cook for Juventus, I cook for Celtic. Sir Alex Ferguson was on the Celtic board that night. Do you know what I mean? Who else was there? Prince William. Do you know what I mean? I'm cooking.
Have
for
you
these.
met him?
Met him, mate. And
he's nice as he comes across.
Mate, he's nicer. He's like, he actually wants to.
His stuff as well.
It's not just about you, mate. He'll speak. It's not just about him. He'll speak about you. He'll be like, "Where's your restaurant?"
I want to get him on this, so if you can drop a little.
Oh well, yeah. I don't know that right. He weren't that nice, but Chris X is a good one to speak to. But no, it's and they said that's and mate, the feedback we were getting after the Juventus game. I always try to implement something, from Bayern Munich, something.
That's what I was going to say. Do you? So when you know the team that you're playing, do you just feed that into the menu?
Yeah, but they're like Sharon's like, I want you to do you.
Yeah.
But like, I've got
you with a hint of Germany.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So with Italy, with Juventus, it was easy.
Pizza.
We do exactly pizza and pasta and stuff. We did a tiramisu as a dessert, but we did it in like an eclair. So we did like the dots of like the coffee sort of element, and then obviously the cream element, the mascarpone element, and the chocolate element, and did all this. Did the amaretto gel in between, and two of the backroom staff came into the kitchen and said, "Tom," and I was like, "Hello, you okay?" And he's complete suit, black and white tie. He says, "Food, oh my, the best." So Villa have like what supporters won't see. Villa are investing in that side of it.
Yeah.
So people are like when those clubs come to it, like PSG came, and we did that. They wanted for PSG. I think they thought that it may be our last time, right?
Yeah.
So the Sharon was like, "Tom, can you just go all out? Can we have the desperate danko pie? Can we have the banana dessert?
Have you never got an invite?
Can we have the scallop? Can we have the scallop satay that you do in the restaurant? Not synonymous with upstairs." I said, you want me to do all that? He said, yeah. So I went out, and obviously nothing French about it. I said, guys, like the whole season I've been cooking with a lot of elements of the opposition's cuisine.
Yeah.
I says, but I've been told that you're going to get a scallop satay from Asia, you're going to get a desperate from Scotland, and you get a banana man, which I don't even know where the origin is, but listen, it was in England, and they all absolutely pissed themselves. But when they had the banana, they couldn't believe what it was, and they were just absolutely blown away by it. Mate.
Did you take the team with you here?
So I've got Dan, so I've got a corporate head chef now as well. So Michael was my head chef upstairs.
Yeah.
But Dan, who I alluded to, has been here from the start. Dan is our corporate, so he works here predominantly when we haven't got any corporate gigs. When we have corporate gigs, he sort of he heads that up with me. So all the Wembley gigs, he'll head up with me, all that. So
do they have their own staff at those
venues? They have their own staff, yeah. So
you work in conjunction with those
absolutely.
as well?
So me and Dan will do, the boardroom's only for 20, 30 customers. So we do that between ourselves, it's a push. But some of the guys in the kitchens are there prepping for the night time anyway, so they'll jump on. Jordan, the head chef in the room, Glenn, who's the exec chef, who's a great guy, they'll all jump on and help us. And then in the night time, Glenn, who's the exec chef, will ask me to consult the menus in the oak room in Legends room.
Okay.
So they just want a bit of personality.
Well,
that's it. So, but Glenn's an amazing chef, amazing chef, and when the first menu we consulted a fair bit because it was the Celtic game, was my first consultation menu, and I put some really quirky bits on the menu. I put like a deep fried Mars bar and stuff. And
that should be for Celtic,
mate. That's what it was. For Celtic. That was the first game I did for the corporate, and mate, it went down so well. So like Glenn was like, mate, like, can you do them now on in? And they've just gone down incredibly well, and the feedback's been amazing. I've met some customers there, and they're like, Tom, can you do them all?
Yeah.
I said, well, I don't think they can afford that, because at the end of the day, it's a cost.
It's still got a budget,
budget stuff, which I do. Obviously, I look after them. Of course, I do. Like, in compared to like Wembley, who I look after anyone more than anyone else. But Wembley's a big gig. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard. It's 80 customers between me and Dan, and it's a 3-course menu in each lounge. And
how does Villa's compare to Wembley?
Well, this isn't even biased. Levy, who are the corporate hospitality vendor at Villa, are at the very top. They're at the very top, mate. They do Tottenham. We're fortunate enough to work at Tottenham. They do the Edgbaston, and they're very food orientated. Okay. Wembley are a bit of both. A lot of football, a lot of food. Have a very secure vendor there, but I wouldn't say that the food's overly ambitious. They want me to make the food a bit more ambitious, but I just look after my own restaurants there. I don't consult the menus there anymore. I used to last year, but I didn't enjoy it too much. They enjoyed it, and to be fair, the customers were great, but what I was seeing on the plate wasn't what I was sort of doing. So now my own place is my own place there. So it's very much upstairs at Wembley, really. And it's great. I absolutely love it. And they've signed me on for another 2 years, so it's going down well.
How long are you going to be at Villa for? Have you got like season to season?
Yeah, Villa is, so we're talking at the moment for next season. Obviously, it depends on where we finish and what we get. I'd like to think we got European football.
I think Europe.
Yeah, I think so. So for that, there's going to be a similar vibe there, which we still do. And as I said, I'm a season ticket holder anyway, so I'm going to be down at Villa regardless, really.
So do you cook and then go back to your seat?
Yeah, well, we sort of like in the
change. You have to go back at half time.
No, we finish at 4. We finish at the kick-off, but we've been in the Champions League night, so I get to sit in the Chairman's Lounge, which is pretty incredible. So
have you met them? Nassif and
all of them,
Wes?
All of them, mate. All of them. They're lovely, mate. They're quite quiet, to be fair, and they've obviously got their entourage with them.
Yes.
But their entourage are great, mate. Like, they're absolute. Some of them are really funny. And the backroom staff at Villa, like the media guys and the secretaries and stuff, they're great people, mate. Great people.
Well, Damien and Monchi.
That's it. Monchi's a really nice, very respectful Monchi's. Damien's a great guy. And like Tom, who's the media guy, Scottish lad, and there's loads, and Ben, I speak to Ben an awful lot, who's, again, he sort of conducts with me, Sharon, I mentioned earlier as well.
It's like a dream, isn't it?
It's great, mate.
Not only have you just cultivated this amazing restaurant,
that's what I mean,
successful in your industry, but you've now tied it in with your love of Aston Villa.
When I'm saying it's the story, it's like, mate, I'm cooking at Royal Ascot. I've got my own restaurant at Royal Ascot for the 2nd year in a row. It's like, mate, this is dreaming. It's a new book. It's a new book. It's a new stage of my career, which is completely different. It's not a chapter. It's a new book.
But it's not like you're the only one-star Michelin chef. To get these gigs is just it's an indictment of how good you are.
I'm proud, mate, because what we alluded to earlier about the academia side, mate. I'm a very humble person because I'm very grateful for these opportunities. I never take any opportunity for granted. Matt, I'm working at Aston Villa, my boyhood club, I'm working there. That I could work there for free and I would love it.
Don't tell them that.
No, well,
I'll cut that bit out.
I've said that to them and they're like, well, no, don't be stupid, we're very thankful. And it's that balance of a relationship, it works both ways. And that's exactly what we do. And it's everything I go into, going back to that young lad when he was 18, I give it my all. And that they see it and they taste it. And I speak to people with respect. And I think there's people who've gone before me who don't have all those values, and it's let them down. And I've just stepped into their shoes, and I've massively benefited from that. But yeah, for me, it's like for the fact that I sit next to Brian Little most Champions League nights, and Ian Taylor's become a close friend of mine. And Ian Taylor was one of my boyhood heroes because he was just a legend on the pitch.
And ambassador
and everything. And now he's been to the restaurant 2 or 3 times. Now his wife Tracy's lovely. Brian, I've spoken to him many times, and it's just amazing, mate.
Surreal, isn't it?
It's surreal, mate. And I still feel it's surreal. I still feel it's surreal.
But I've met him a few times, and when I sat next to Brian and did the interview with him,
Brian's amazing.
I kept thinking, is this really happening?
It's mad, mate. And but I'm still that person. I happen to be a chef. I mean, he said celebrity. I don't see myself as that. So I don't think they see themselves as that, which is great. And I think it's how you've been brought up and how you've got to that level. And for me, it's like, I also remember when I talk about these 2 Michelin restaurants, mate, I remember sleeping on an airbed that had 3 holes in for the first 3 months of my career at the Latimer. I had to show up every day still, clean face. I remember having a shower. I rented a room above someone's garage where the shower was like on the corner, almost like a mezzanine style thing, and the mezzanine came to about here, and every morning I had to have a shower on my knees because I couldn't fit under, but the shower was like a fucking loose tap. And I'd be there, you know, with the links and going under and putting my arm under. No one sees that.
I hope it was Links Africa.
No, of course it was, mate. But no one sees that.
No.
No one sees any of that.
It is hard, but I mean, I work in the food industry. We have all my life, 50 years nearly in ours. And, you know, I still love the buzz of a Saturday lunchtime when you got the staff all banging them out, the ovens are going, you know, can you get this, can you get that? I know it's a buzz. It's a similar thing to what you've got, mate, but it's a different industry. Obviously yours is more fine dining, ours is more takeaway.
Still the same
You
buzz.
cannot beat for those 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon when you got queue mile long and you're just trying to get everything going. You can't, it's a weird sensation. So I totally do buy into what you do, and I can really resonate with it. Honestly, I can, and I think it's nice. I've just been sitting here watching all the guys working hard, and you know.
I step it up throughout the day now, so it gets to about 3
They're working harder because you're here looking at them.
Yeah, it could be that.
Right, we're just going to finish on a few light-hearted questions.
Perfect, matey.
What is your perfect 3-course meal that you would have, and afterwards you can pick any Villa game from history that you will watch, but you can't pick the 82 final because everybody picks that.
No, it's fine. It wouldn't be that only because it's before my time, obviously, and also there is a game that's more synonymous with me.
Okay, so your perfect 3-course meal.
Perfect. So I'm banging to my classics, mate.
Okay.
So it would be a really luxurious sort of roasted foie gras starter. Okay. I absolutely love foie gras. I know it's so bougie. But mate, like, I've just come back from Paris and I went for my birthday last Thursday, and my wife had booked a restaurant with my
daughter. It was Michelin star.
Unfortunately, it was. Yeah, it was. It was the only one that I think let a young girl in, to be fair, which was mad. But Grace is fantastically well behaved. We had foie gras there. We had a terrine there. So it was a cold pressed, but I prefer it roasted. But one of my best foie gras dish I've ever eaten was at the Waterside Inn in Bray. They did just 2 massive lobes of foie gras with like a carrot and orange. It was just fucking unreal. But to be honest, I couldn't care less how it was. Just 2 beautiful roast pieces of foie gras with nice little garnish that would just be for me. That's the starter. Steak for me, no two ways about it. Simple. Steak, chips, peppercorn sauce. I'm not a massive fan of the grilled tomatoes. I like mushrooms, but just steak, chips, like peppercorn.
How do you have your steak cooked?
Medium rare. Yeah, medium rare, and it would be like I love a ribeye, or I love like
what
a T-bone.
steak could you? Yeah,
T-bone or ribeye on the finish on the barbecue, so it gets a real char. Medium rare, perfectly rested. Yeah, peppercorn or burn. Probably my favourite sauce is probably béarnaise sauce. Yeah. I love dunking my chips into peppercorn. So proper fries. I don't like the chunky chips. Fries would be spot on.
Sounds divine.
And then dessert would be. I've got a proper sweet tooth. One of my favourite desserts is the tiramisu.
Okay.
I absolutely love the coffee flavour. I love the soaked sponge. I love obviously the richness of the mascarpone. So yeah, probably would. But I'm also going to say I'm quite a classic. I do love like anything with like custard. I absolutely love. I love like apple crumble and custard is delicious. Absolutely, I love jam roly poly.
Yes.
I love a strudel.
Spotted dick.
Spotted dick. Mate. Do you know what I mean? Steamed sponges like sticky to or the you know is it the what's it called now? Golden syrup, the sponge, or the caramel sponge, or the turnover. Love anything like that. I love anything with like fruit in and. So anything like that, mate, just is like real comforting to me. So dessert is like very much up to whoever's cooking it, to be honest.
It's lovely. So you've had your meal. What game? Now you're going to watch?
96 Coca-Cola Cup.
The cup final.
I would have.
Splendid.
If the 82 was in there, I still would have because I was so young. I was at my granddad's house watching it on. It wasn't Sky, it was whatever it was, and cable. And I remember my granddad would have turned it up a little bit. I remember I had chills. That was the first game I watched, mate. The first Villa game I watched. I had chills, and we clearly did to Leeds what Palace did to us on Saturday. We turned up, and Milosevic has got. That's what I mean. And if I could be there in corporate hospitality,
I say that every time I go back to Wembley, I say it's the best place in the world to win a game of football.
Absolutely, mate.
But it's also the very worst. As we found out, to lose a game of football.
I never went to watch a game at that Wembley. Yeah. So that's another synonymous thing that I would have loved to have gone. Was it the two?
Yeah, Twin Towers. Yeah.
So I would have loved to have gone to the Arches.
2000 was the last FA Cup final
there
at Wembley, and that was Villa Chelsea. Yeah. And I was at that one as well. Yeah. So yeah, fantastic.
That would have been
place.
That would be the meal, and that would definitely be the venue for sure.
Okay, I like it. In your opinion, who is the best Villa player ever?
Okay, that's a massive question. That is, yeah. I think there's potentially, you know, players who have sort of played recently that.
Yeah.
Jack really should have springs to mind for me, being a player. This isn't going to be a common answer at all.
No, it's fine. It's who you think that you've enjoyed watching.
Well, the person I've enjoyed watching, there's two players, and they're very different. I mean, mate, I said like Taylor. Taylor comes into it, you know. Townsend Draper comes into it, you know. Seeing Maguire in a Villa shirt was wild. The two players.
He's mine. Maguire.
Is it Maguire? Yeah. The two players that have been with me the most joy, without a doubt. I'll say the second first. So it's Paul Merson.
Yep.
Has given me the biggest amount of joy, but the boast is Dwight York.
Fair play.
And I know so that won't be a common answer, I'm sure.
I think a lot of people like Dwight York.
I think we liked it. I think, you know, obviously off the pitch he was a little bit wild.
Character as well, yeah.
But I think it was just that season. He was a fucking goal scorer, mate. So
gutted when he left.
Gutted when he left, mate. Yeah, he went to United, obviously. And look what he did at United. Fucking hell, the Cole and York's situation was ridiculous. They've really recovered from that, to be fair. But yeah, I'd probably say the biggest impact and the person I always wanted to be, always on the back of my shirt was always Yorkie, always. I loved him. But there's been players I'd like to mention. Benteke was incredible at the Villa. Carboni and Merson, and yeah.
You love the flair players, don't you?
I do. Young Ashley, when Ashley scored that goal against Blues 5-1, and you know, obviously I think he had a little fracas with whoever it was in the middle of the ground and shrugged him off and scored that goal, the opening goal that day. Love Gabby. I don't particularly rate him as a player, if I'm being honest. That's quite harsh. I don't rate him massive as a player. But I just think he was turned up on those few
against the Blues. He always turned up.
That's what I mean, mate. So, but we've had some amazing players.
Your current favourite Villa player
in the squad at the moment.
Again, it's hard, isn't it? Because there's so many good players.
I think my current. Yeah, I do like the flair players, mate. To be fair, I do love Guinea, mate. I do. I think he's just his heart's on his sleeve. Very rarely has a poor game. I know this season he's been a bit off. And I love that.
A lot of people are going to say it. Would say him, yeah.
I love Torres as well. I like, you know, being a flair player.
We're blessed at the moment, aren't we?
My favourite player at the moment. I'm sorry to take it so long.
All right.
So I'll say Tielemans. Yeah, I'll say Tielemans. Yeah, I'll say Tielemans. Yeah, I think he's I think he's Rolls Royce,
Phenomenal.
mate. I think he's Rolls Royce, mate. I think he is. The people, Asensio is going through, but he hasn't. I think him coming in, obviously, the last few games hasn't been great. I get that, but I think when he came on and just for us to be signing him and Rashford was just bonkers.
Just shows how far we've come.
Big time, mate.
Yeah. Last question, and then I'll let you go back to your kitchen. Perfect dinner guests. You're cooking for 3 people. Got to be Villa related.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Alive or not with us anymore.
Okay, cool.
So 3 people.
Yeah.
Who was your perfect dinner?
So I'd love to cook for Brian Little.
Okay.
That's just purely.
Brian's in.
I think it says it quite easy, doesn't it? With the fact it's just that's just it's the era thing. It's just the synonymous with the era. I think it's because it's just he just. Yeah, I just
last cup winning manager.
I've now met him. I still haven't had the pleasure to cook for him. To be fair, I just like him there. I just like him. It's the full circle type of thing, really. I would love. I
love the fact you're really thinking about.
No, but I've cooked for Gordon Cowans. Gordon Cowans has been in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Gordon, he's been in the restaurant, and his now partner. Her son went to my school, Sean, and I've been friends with Sean since I was 11. So now his mum's obviously in the on table 1 over there. I mean, so I've sort of cooked for him. I think I'm quite. This is quite cynical, really. I think I can't. I'm a very connective person. I can't connect with people who are before my time. I can't do it, mate.
Fine, yeah.
So I'd love to say Dennis. I'd also like to say Peter Weir. I'd like to see Tony Morley. I'd like to see many players who have been before. I even remember watching Saunders and Dalen Atkinson. I was just before my time. That was obviously in the Ron Atkinson era. I'd love to say them, but I think I'm going to have to say really recently. I would love to cook for Brian. I'd love to cook for Unai.
So Unai and Brian.
Absolutely love to cook for both of them.
This is a manager's dinner.
Well, it seems like it never was. And I think player-wise, I would. Jack Grealish lived out, I think, every single Villa's childhood dream.
1,000,000%.
And he lived out mine. And mate, I felt so connected to him as a supporter. I was so happy for him when he signed for City.
Yeah.
Kevin, his dad, came up to me on Sunday, obviously with City, and asked to sit down in the restaurant. We were full, but I've now booked him in on a table of 4 for the final because obviously they've made it through City app, and that was just weird. And he was taking a video of me for fucking Jack. I've never met Jack, so I'd love to. So it'd be Brian Little, Jack Grealish, and Unai Emery. Which weirdly, I've asked Brian Little, who's the one player he would love to have managed, and he says Jack Grealish every single time, and I bet he wouldn't have minded managing him either.
Still could,
absolutely. I think
interesting.
It would be interesting. So there would be definitely. It would be a good topic.
That'd be a good meal. That'd
be a good meal, mate. Yeah,
like come and record it.
Literally. Well, they're still here, aren't they, mate? So last manager to win a cup. I think we're going to do something with him, without a doubt. And arguably, from a childhood perspective, arguably the best homegrown player we've ever had at the Villa.
I don't disagree.
So,
Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure. I could talk to you all day.
Same, mate.
I feel like I've known you about 50 years. I appreciate it.
What's up, man?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, everything. Membership's available as well.
Oh, legend.
Fantastic place. If you can get in, there's a bit of a wait. I can tell you that. Upstairs by Tom Shepherd. You will not regret it, honestly. Now I'm going to go and nick some food out of the kitchen.
Too right.
Up the Villa. Mate, that's
amazing, man. You're right.
Honestly, really enjoyed that.